some and put them in the other one, because frankly, it's a nightmare otherwise,
Yep. Barry and I are discussing how IT stuff is not our area of expertise. Dating and relationships are.
Exactly.
Seriously, we have IT people at our disposal because we'd be out of luck.
True enough.
Hi, this is the new streamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio and TV and podcast #1 internet singles talk network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
Today we're going to talk hormones.
Yeah, stuff we are going to talk about from a less than a scientific perspective, to be honest.
For sure. That's the other thing that's way above our pay grade, is that whole scientific part.
Yeah. However.
Yes. However, there certainly are lots of interesting scientific things about estrogen and testosterone. And what we're going to talk about is how to increase it from an emotional level, an intellectual level, a physical level.
Yep.
I mean, I'm on bioidentical hormones, and my wonderful gynecologist calls them quality of life medicine, which my late husband would attest to. He was glad I was on them. So that's the scientific part that I don't understand, but I'm a huge fan, and so was he. And he didn't take any bioidentical testosterone, but I have a couple of friends and definitely some male clients who went and had their hormones checked and are using medical ways as well. So that's certainly a wonderful, viable option. It's to find out, where are you right now? Because we are outliving our hormones. It's so fascinating that our bodies haven't caught up with how long medicine and our lifestyle is keeping us available to keep living. But our hormones stopped when, especially for women, when we were done producing eggs, because we died, at 30 and 40 generally. We were lucky to live till 50. And then we were old. We were really old because we had worked really hard and didn't have the kind of medical and lifestyle choices that we have now that help us keep our bodies healthier and younger feeling for longer.
Right.
And we were put on this earth to have babies. And when we were done having babies, we were done living, apparently. Well, we think we should be living a lot now after having babies if we did.
Absolutely.
So these are very important hormones along with progesterone, but we'll just leave that one aside for today. That'll help you have, as my gynecologist says, a higher quality of life for both men and women, inside ourselves and inside our partner.
Well, because the other also part of that conversation is that there was this, I mean, in some way I think it still hangs up, kind of a hangover or a nightmare from way back when, is that, sex was done by the time we were 30 or 35, so people were too old to have sex past the age of 40, which is not what we're talking about nowadays, but 100, 300 years ago, that was the way it was. So yes, quality of life, including having a healthy sex life when you're way past 30, 40 or 50.
Yeah. I can remember my grandfather, he was very, conservative, and this was so interesting that he said this out loud one day, but he said, I can't remember what was coming up, something about how I had thought it was cute that every time they kissed, every time he drove somewhere, they kissed before they left and when they got back. And the first time I ever rode with him, I was like, oh my God, she's not sure she's going to make it there, because he was a pretty sketchy driver. But he also told me, how I said, well, do you kiss goodnight? He goes, well, and yes. And it was so funny. I just kept waiting. He says, we do other things. We just take a little longer and go a little slower. And I just thought that was, they lived to their 90s. And I thought that was very charming and gave me hope for the kind of genes I came from, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, this is an important topic for people because a lot of our audience are over 35, 40. So this is relevant to them.
So talking today about how we can help ourselves and help our partner increase their testosterone and their estrogen levels. So the challenging side I have found, especially when women started entering the workforce more in the role of being directive and to a point and on the hunt for the best deal. And so they needed to have more masculinity to do that rather than such a diffuse awareness of being involved and thinking about so many other things. They really needed to be focused, which is good. And it certainly called up our testosterone, and we were very high in our testosterone then and very high in our masculine energy.
Yeah.
And the big challenge I watched happen, and it really was evident during COVID, when people were now not going to their separate workplaces and trying to figure out how to work inside the same four walls all day long, every day, was the way they put it to me, was there was no room. There was so much testosterone in the house. There was no room for somebody who had the diffuse awareness. There was no room for the person who thought, oh, poor baby, you know, that's a hard thing, that everybody was needing, as we used to tease in the 60s, everybody was needing a wife. Everybody was needing the soft person to take care of them, because there's such a lovely place for that. And we'll talk about men in a minute, because I'm certainly not saying they can't do that. And the hard thing for women is if we're in our testosterone all the time, too much of the time, our adrenal glands get damaged. I've talked to so many women who they're now worn out. They're getting diagnosed with adrenal glands that aren't working properly because they've worn them out more than they should. It's because they were, in order for us to have a lot of testosterone in our body, we're very much in the fight or flight, even though we're not afraid. But it's the kind of thing we have to muster up in order to be that directive hunter, single focused person. And if we don't have a balance, our bodies are not built that way. That's the other thing. I mean, that has not changed in eons. Our bodies are built to be much higher in estrogen most of the time, and then to have the testosterone come and go, where so many women were having testosterone 10, 15, 20 hours a day, and it was really hard on them.
It also makes for their relationships to be really challenging as well.
Mm-hmm.
We talked in the previous episode, and just a slightly different point, but it underscores the same thing, is that we talked in an episode last year sometime about how masculine and feminine romance and in the bedroom, there are things that men and women can do to remember that, because so many women have been trained and informed how to perform like men in the business world, because the business world is designed for men and by men.
Mm-hmm.
So for women, part of this was when they come home is how do they disengage, but the second piece was also how a man can provide the space so that she can trust him to hold the space, so she can let go of that and become more feminine. So that way he holds the masculine space easily, ideally, and therefore the testosterone is stronger in him, so that she can go, you know what, you've got it handled, I can let go of this, thank you. And then she can soften. But unfortunately, a lot of women, especially when they're single, haven't necessarily had somebody like that they can do that with. So finding ways to reset their femininity was actually more challenging, because they didn't think about it. They were just on their own. They weren't being an reflection from anybody. It wasn't a partner saying, honey, maybe I should run a bath for you so you can relax, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of women don't do that for themselves.
Boy, is that the so that leads me to another way that women push their estrogen levels down and raise their testosterone level, is the whole Helen Reddy song of I can do everything all the time really well, which is impossible. I mean, nobody can do everything all the time really well, all by themselves. They just can't. It's not physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually possible.
Yeah.
So what's very challenging for women is to ask for help and accept help. And one of the magic things that happens is if we do something nice for ourselves, like say, gosh, it'd be really great if you could help me. A woman or a man, ask a friend or a romantic partner, I really need support in this. I need you to listen to me about something. I need somebody to run errands for me. I need somebody to just sit with me and watch a movie because I'm feeling lonely. That will automatically raise your estrogen level. It just does. When we ask And then we allow ourselves, instead of, oh no, I can do it myself. If we allow ourselves to receive, that is one of the fastest ways that we can increase our estrogen level. And it's so interesting when I coach women to do this, just start asking something really small that doesn't have to be done perfectly, that you know this person could handle. I mean, it's a lot of criteria, but that's the only way we're going to let go. Go do that and then come back and tell me how you felt. And they went, yeah, it was hard. Yeah, I was worried. And ultimately, I felt better. I go, I know. It was something I had to learn too.
Yeah.
It's really there's 3 really fast ways, and that's one of the really fast ways to start feeling less that fight and flight, which is what happens when our testosterone level goes higher. It also makes us horny, which is a very good thing, but we need to fix that too.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, that's what happens when our testosterone, we're just, okay, let me at them. Okay, I want more, which is good. But then when you have an orgasm, up goes your estrogen. So there's another fix too. I got to bring sex into everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. The other part of that also is that when a woman is so much in charge of running the show, this may just be my own experience, not just everybody else's, but certainly for men, I think in general, because we men like to be done with stuff. We like to be, in a sense, lazy. Like we want to get things done so we can relax. It's kind of our mode of operation.
Yeah.
And so a woman is running the show and doing things the whole way. For some men, because there's other men different, I'll mention in a second, but for a lot of men, it's kind of like, you go do that, honey. I'm fine. I'll just sit over here and relax, put my feet up, read the newspaper. There are some men who basically feel threatened by that and will compete with them. Neither one is effective. But to have the space where, and you said the willingness, which is key, is for the man to hold such a space that's so strong and so firm and planted in his testosterone, so she feels him being present and holding the space for her, so she can firmly and absolutely trust him implicitly. Then she has the willingness to let go, and that's when things can move. So it's not like the man has to do stuff necessarily. And we saw this again in other previous episodes. For the biggest gift a man gives his woman is his beingness, to be present, to be in that space. And the great thing is that it's not that hard for us to do. We just need to remember to do it. And if we do it authentically by, again, being present in our bodies, embodying that space of wholeness and strength and presence, she will trust that implicitly. She will understand what it is. She'll feel it. And she'll go, yes, I know that he's rock solid. I can lean on that. I can let go of it and give it all over to him. One thing that talks about in an episode, this again, a year or two ago, something I learned from one of my teachers about how in the bedroom, when a man and woman come together, since we were talking about sex earlier, we'll bring it back in again, is that oftentimes one of the things that a man and woman can do, especially if they both go work in the world and do other things and they've got so much stuff that's going on, where they may not be fully embodying their own natural polarity, because in sexual chemistry, sexual connection, polarity is a key function, one masculine, one feminine, independent of gender, independent of sexual choice, preference rather, but definitely the case. So when 2 partners are together in the bedroom, one of the rituals that men and women can do, which really helps them, is to do a symbolic giving up of the part that we don't want to hold on to. So the woman can actually symbolically gather up all the energy of the masculinity she's been carrying around and working on for the whole day, that's been getting her job done, but she sort of doesn't need it in the bedroom. And gathering up, like imaginary with her hands and giving it to a partner for safekeeping. And then he does the same thing with his feminine energy, so that both partners are giving over. One thing, they're giving the trust to their partner by exchanging the energy, so to speak. So like, I'll give that to you so you can take care of it. It means I don't have to carry it anymore. So one, you're trusting them. Secondly, you're lightening up your own load. And then what you do is you become more naturally embodying your own polarity. So for women who move more into the feminine, it's like the hormones start to move more so naturally because they're owning that space. And for the man, same thing. When he owns his space, his hormonal structure resets as well, because it's that embodiment energy we talked about earlier. So it's a gift we can give each other. And so it's such a key when we do bring our authentic nature. And you can do it in other places too, but the bedroom is one of the places where it's more easy to think about because you're thinking about one thing, which is sex.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great point. And to think, if you really think about it, often men and women have said when their hormones are out of balance, I feel heavy. It feels like a heaviness. And that when your hormones get back in balance, where a man's testosterone is a little higher and the woman's estrogen is a little higher, they feel lighter. They talk about feeling lighter. their bodies feel lighter, their spirit feels lighter, their brains work better, because complain to the person who made us, whenever that was, whether we crawled out of the ocean or came out of somebody's rib. This is the factory installation, and it's the way it is. So turning it over is so essential. And I love the idea. I was just thinking how it could be such an interesting ritual to say, you know, here I'm going to gather this. I'm going to say this out loud. I'm going to gather this in my hands, and you're going to gather, and then we're going to exchange them. I mean, I think that could be really sensual and sexy. It's a little bit what the Tantra people do with all their breathing and stuff and staring. And to use those words too would be so, I think I'm going to remember that. That's going in my little notebook.
I mean, I love the teachings. It was such a great reminder because it's so simple. And the thing about it is so many layers to it. Because one is, yes, you're resetting your own, you're recalibrating, resetting your own psyche, your own embodiment. But there's a sense of really opening up the connection, the intimacy with your partner, because you're giving something of yourself to them energetically. And so it creates a level of intimacy and connection and vulnerability that may not have been there when you walked in. And the thing is, like you're saying, with women feeling lighter when they're doing it. For us, for men, I feel like when we do own our testosterone, we own a presence, it's like we feel more grounded, and which is one of the gifts we bring. And so I know for myself, when I'm being pulled left, right, and center, being distracted, it's like it's putting me more into a feminine energy because it's more frenetic for me. It's more trying to multitask and do everything at once, which is not my natural gift. And when I simply just like, you know, stop a second and take a breath and really bring myself back into my body, it feels so good. And it's also so grounding, which is a gift that we can give ourselves. And the other, again, like we said so earlier, is that from women, having a man that feels rock solid to hit them, that she can trust is key. And for us, frankly, I trust myself more when I'm grounded because I feel more present in my body. I feel more connected to myself. So yeah, absolutely powerful.
And I love how you said, you put it so lovely on yourself of, well, when we remember it and we try to remember it, that it's our job as women to say, this is what I need and want. And he's like, oh, I'm on it. I'm on the job. The testosterone kicks in and the mission is ready in front of me and I'm going to do it. And you're so available as men to please the woman in all sorts of ways that you care about if we were just clear about what it was. So this is when we need to get over that hump of, I hate asking for help. I'm not good for asking for help. Okay, I accept all of that. I'm going to teach you how to ask for help because the benefits are huge for both of you.
Yeah.
Huge. So another way that a woman can, on her own, increase her estrogen, it's really been proven so many times, when we do something that's repetitive, that's comforting, that feels nurturing to us. And it's one of the reasons that, you know, so many of the modern conveniences have taken a lot of it away. So I have some things in my life that I like to hand wash, dishes things.
Yeah.
And it's so peaceful. It's so peaceful to just wipe a dish and I daydream and I can come up with really brilliant ideas. And when I dry it, I find if I am conscious in the shower of bathing myself and rinsing myself, part of what I do, my clients say, don't I get down from, because some of the hard things I talked about, my clients, I go, no, my process is I send it down the drain. So I find that that's one of my normal practices for that. But also at the end, I'm like, oh, that was just fun to really think about. It wasn't just rush, 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 rush. And now I'm cleaning, I'm getting out. No, I'm washing different parts of my body and honoring that and sending the energy down and then drying myself and putting lotion on. And it's really amazing how that mindfulness gives me this sense of well-being that I know is an increase in my estrogen now that I have studied this so much. I just knew it made me feel good. But I really understand it raises my estrogen level doing those kinds of gardening, petting the cat, you know, whatever the kinds of, if you like cleaning things, one of my things I don't like is vacuuming. But if I can do this in that kind of way, I do better with vacuuming because I think, oh, you know, I'll just make it repetitive. I'll make it because I just want to rush through that because it's my least favorite thing. But so talk about how men can do on their own to help increase their testosterone, Barry.
Well, it's funny when you talk about washing up. it just hit me because I do wash up for myself, like the dishes and everything else. But the thing for me is what I love is when it's done.
Yep,
And I think so it's not a mechanical thing as much doing it. The act of doing it's like it's just mechanical. But when when the camera's cleared and everything's put away, part of me's like, okay, I'm open now. Like, and it's true because for us as men, because we are more single focused, more task oriented. Once the task is done, then we're free to do other things. But if we're distracted by something that's not been done, like, it's almost like this thing at the corner of our eye that just watching, we're noticing, and it's just pulling our energy and it's distracting and that sort of thing. So we want to take care of it. And so for us, I know it's for me, certainly for other men too, is when we can get a task completed, so we can be free just to be present in the moment. Because again, being present is a good thing for us. And so there's different reasons, but the same result, or different results rather, the same reason.
It's so funny. I was listening to two guys talk the other day, and they came up with this way that they were talking about individual things they do, but how they made it really competitive to get to the goal. I mean, I was about the process and they were about the goal, and it was so delightful to listen to how they created this goal out of what seemed to me nothing, but it made it more fun. It made them feel accomplished at the end. They said, how fast could I do it? How much better could I do it different the next time? And I'm thinking, when I'm at work, sometimes I do think that, but it's not in my normal life that I think that. And I thought, oh, this is just how you all do that, because that's a really good reason to get a shot of testosterone. I accomplished my goal.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, is that one of the gifts that men give themselves to be more connected to testosterone is accomplishing goals. And there's only big ones like, setting a new target for the business or something else. Just to say, I'm going to go do an errand, or I'm going to go hiking this much time, or I'm going to do this many push-ups, whatever it is. We can set those goals for us. It can be small, big, whatever it is. Each one we win on, we feel more accomplished, but we feel more like I'm back in my body, like beat our chest sort of thing. It has that impact. It definitely works.
I just am so grateful so much of the time of my life that I know all this now, because then I can appreciate those kinds of conversations, because I would never have before in my before life, before coaching. That's my BC. Before I learned how to start appreciating men in such a different way, because it was truly it cracked me up out loud. And they were like, and they got a kick out of it. I got a kick out of it. And they didn't care why that I was. They just thought it was cool that I was laughing. And I just thought they were delightful, because it was like, oh yeah, it would make sense. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but of course they do. Yeah. I just loved it. I thought it was really fun.
Absolutely.
So another way, go ahead.
Well, I was going to throw one, but you go first.
Yeah. No, go to the guys. Do guy stuff. I love guy stuff.
One of the things that I know is good for us too, because you mentioned earlier about guys doing the competitive things, is one thing that's really good for us men to restore or reconnect back to our masculine. It's kind of like there's an adage that goes around in men's circles about steel sharpens steel. I think the term is something like that. But basically, it's when we do things that are competitive with other men, not fighting necessarily, but do things that are fun to do. So playing sports together, doing races together, doing things that basically put us on a new trajectory. There's something about that sharpening energy, as the word I was looking for. So it refines and sharpens us. And for us men, one of the biggest gifts we give ourselves is being around other men when we're doing things that are more active and more refining, so to speak. So that's one of the things for the men. You're going to talk about something for the ladies, I think.
Yep. We generally like taking care of something, a pet, a child, a friend, volunteering. We really like giving of our time, our energy, our money to see somebody else's life get better, that makes them happier. And I'm not saying that men don't do this. And I really think the different side of the same coin is, for us, the nurturing makes our heart get bigger and makes us feel so good. And we take it in a little better when we're giving to somebody else, not expecting anything in return. Just the good feeling is good. We feel really good about that. There isn't necessarily a goal or an accomplishment that's we don't often think that way. I mean, it's great if we do volunteering for something and they raise a bunch of money. How cool is that? Oftentimes women will put that like third on the list of, well, why did you go do it? Because they needed me. I love feeling needed. Why else did you do it? Oh, because their life was better, because I was there. What I did was made a difference. I mean, that is how we feel better, which is because it's making our estrogen go up. So to look at ways, to go take care of pets or to read to kids or plant plants or be part of a co-op, do something that gives you a chance to feel like you have a purpose, you have a need. Because I have learned that is a really good way for women to increase their estrogen. And they don't even realize that's what they're doing. They just know it makes them feel good.
Right. But that's also one of the keys, I guess, in a way, is that oftentimes what makes us feel good is going to give us a side benefit of restoring our hormonal balance. So it's not a bad indicator to use that.
Nope. That's when orgasms will come back into the conversation, right?
I knew it wouldn't take long.
Well, how could we not talk about hormones and not include sex? So for men, what I've seen is with your goal oriented, you want to have a plan. You want to make the plan. And it frustrates us women because we want to hear what your plan is. We want you to share your plan. And you don't always, we talk to formulate our plans, which drives you crazy because you think we really are figuring it. We got the point right there, but we're not. We're still thinking about it. And it could change. By the time we stop talking, we have changed it like 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
You think about it. You come up with the plan. You might write something, but you're not necessarily going to talk. Probably most of the time, you're not going to talk about it. And we're like, well, I don't think he's doing anything. He's not making any plans. And I'm really frustrated. And I want to know what the plan is. Then the thing that equally frustrates us is you're ready. You share the plan, but now it's done. And we're like, but I want to talk about it. And maybe I want to make some changes because that's what we do. And you're like, no.
So true.
I know. So this is a part where this is really good for their testosterone. To make a plan, come up with a plan, and tell us about it. Now, no, it's inconsiderate if they come up with something that doesn't work for us, of course. But if you've got an ongoing relationship and you've said, so I have mentioned more than once that when I was married the first time, my first husband was in the Army, and we drive up and down from Northern California to Southern California like every 6 weeks. And I would scream in my head really loud that I needed to go to the bathroom and stop. I need to get out of the car anyway, but lots of times it was go to the bathroom. And I'd be so mad at him that he didn't just know. And why didn't he need to stop? So I learned later, because I learned so much dating in between my marriages, that the first time the guy's like, why are you making a face? And I said, well, I need to stop. And he goes, well, why don't you say? And I go, well, why don't you need to stop? He goes, no, I have a plan. I know how far I'm going to drive, and then there'll be a place that's safe. I've already planned a place that's safe, but if you need to be, you need to tell me. I mean, oh my God, these guys were so amazing. Too bad they didn't have all the other qualities though. But I certainly learned this quality. So he'd say, I said, so when should I tell you? He goes, not now, but I'll figure out something now, but it's not going to be the safest place because I had a really safe place, but you need to go right now. I'll find a place right now, but then I'm going to stand outside the door. I'm going to go in and check, and then I'm going to stand outside the door because those really, Christine. So I learned that if we're going to go someplace, I go, okay, I know you're going to make a plan, and I just need to include a couple things in the plan. I need to bring snacks, and so I need a cooler, and I really like getting out every couple of hours, and I need a nice bathroom like every 4 hours or so. And they would include it in their plan. And then I could even say, I'd love to hear part of your plan. And they'd either say, I got it all under control and I just need to trust. Or they'd say, I got your things covered. Or there were a couple times when they went, like Tony loved telling me, okay, this is what I was thinking when we made our plans to go on our honeymoon to Europe. And I want to make sure this is okay with you. Because I had told him, I don't know what in hell I'm doing. I've never done that before. So he was really considerate about that. But I really admire that you guys do think about it. You just don't say, and we don't ask, and then we get all mad and you get all mad. But if you talk about it ahead of time, I had some of the nicest trips with guys who really carefully picked out nice bathrooms for me.
Well, I mean, it sounds obvious in a way, but it's like there's so much that we as men tend to forget. So to be conscious of it and aware of it and to include it in our plans is great, because it makes your life easier and more comfortable. It makes our job easier too, because it means you're not being so upset or stressed. So there's definitely a selfish benefit to that too.
Yeah.
But it's so funny that it's just not, it's not on our radar because we're not thinking about it until you bring it to our attention. But when you do, we're right on it. But it's just that ridiculousness of being like, didn't think about it, didn't worry about it.
Well, you can pee beside the road, or I've learned, oh my God, I'm so envious. You can pee in a bottle. Oh my God.
Yeah, but there was new things for women, have the little funnel use.
I've seen that now, so that would be cool. But then you have to carry pee around in the car, which would be really disgusting.
Well,
but
ideally,
it's a nice
bottle, so you don't have the smell carrying through the car.
It's still in the car. As much as I'm happy to work around horses, I come home. I don't live with it.
Different animal, literally.
I am an indoor plumbing gal. I have learned that about me.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is, but I am. So, yeah, it's not a priority for you personally.
Right.
Truly. The first time I had to pee outside, I was at a concert in a parking lot for a Jimmy Buffett concert, and we were doing the tailgate thing, and I was like, where's the bathroom? They go, I'm like, all right. I thought, I can't do this ever again. It's awful for me, Miss Persnickety. It was awful. So I had to think about, well, of course, you guys, this is so much. You don't pee on your shoes generally, and it's hard for us. I know this is such a bizarre conversation, but nobody talks about this, and this is so important, because how effortless it really was for me to finally get off my little petard and say, this is what I need and want. And they worked it out. I mean, they looked it up to find out reviews about, those kind of bathrooms where you pull off when you're driving.
Yeah.
And so just using this as the example, what other things do we need for our comfort that we could say, wow, you took care of that for me, and I'm so happy you took care of it. You're my He-Man, and I feel, really thought about. I mean,
right.
How nice to have that outcome for anything that's bothering you. Like I've talked about the trash king, that now he takes out the trash every day, and the neighbors just stand out and cheer him because they think it's the funnest thing ever. She never has to touch trash in her life. So if you have a thing that you really need and want from the love of your life, this is how you ask. And oh my God, the benefits, because for this conversation, it will absolutely raise both of your essential hormones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I love about this is just the fact that people are listening to go, you're talking about peeing on the side of the road. It's like this. But the bottom line is, and these the key things, we're teaching you things that you can use no matter where you are and where you're going, because it's part of the life. And part of that also, there's a and we took this recently too, about how men and women feel better. It's like men in relationship, what a woman can help a man's testosterone be rebuilt is approve of him, to boost his ego, to make him feel good, not falsely or made up, but honestly. Because we as men oftentimes feel good or bad based on the approval we receive from our partners. So our testosterone will be correspondingly up or down based upon the feedback we get. So one thing ladies can do for men is to really make sure that he knows that you approve of him, that you like what he's doing, that you're happy he does stuff. So don't be flippant about when they do something. Like, okay, it's fine. Be willing to invest in that. And the other side for men, for our ladies, is to know that they're loved. Largely, what women need to know in a relationship is, one, they feel safe, but secondly, they also feel loved. So if we can make sure that our partner, a woman, is reminded of those or reassured by that, so they know that they feel safe and they know that they're loved, that also boosts their estrogen. So there's ways we can help each other build our immune systems, our hormonal systems, so that we can be stronger, healthier, and also sexier partners.
Oh my goodness. Yes, 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 and yes. I might have told this story, but it's been a really long time ago. I love talking to couples that have been married for a really long time, and how they've gotten through the hard parts. They'd been married for like 60 plus years. And I said, so how often do you tell her you love her? He goes, I told her it on our wedding day, and she knows I'll tell her if I'm not. Okay. Well, you've been married 60 plus years and she looks kind of happy, so I guess it's working. But it made so much logical sense to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I tell women, notice and compliment every single thing he does that's truly something you like.
Yeah.
Because if you like it and you say, gosh, thanks, I like that, he's taken notes and he will do it again. It's
Mm-hmm.
the best way to get him to do it again. It's truly a superpower that women don't honor in themselves and use for good. It's very sad.
Yeah.
If he comes home or is on time or remembers to call or picks up his socks, because yes, there's going to be things you get upset about and don't like, and a man will be so much more receptive to changing that if you've already told him, the 13 other things that he did that week that you really liked, that if you went, oh, hun, I really would be appreciative if you did this, he'd go, okay. I mean, he'd have no trouble doing it if you'd
Mm-hmm.
already been complimentary about other stuff.
Right.
The other thing, because I love this subject about how to help men feel more appreciated, which increases your testosterone, is I was talking to a woman the other day for the very first time. It was my free call, and he'd done something really good a couple of weeks ago, and now he did something that she was really mad about. And I said, so while we're on the phone, I need you to send him a text that appreciates what he did before. And she goes, I will not. I said, well, did you like what he did then? Yeah. And you're mad at him now? Uh-huh. I said, would you like to get him to do that thing again, though? Would it help you not be mad? Yeah. I said, then you need to send this text. I really don't want to. Okay. Will you do it anyway? Just type it. Don't send it.
Yeah.
So we did the, hun, thanks for blah, blah, blah. I realized I hadn't said anything. So we're still talking, and 5 minutes. Oh, thanks. I think I did something that upset you this morning. We probably should talk about it.
Yep.
I said, oh, yeah, I'm not surprised. You're much more forgiving if we're appreciative. You're much more open. And your protect and provide instinct is so ingrained in you that the more we encourage it, the more we say it, the more your testosterone increases and the more you want to protect and provide.
Yep.
It seems so normal and basic now, but I sure didn't understand.
Indeed. Another piece I want to just add another layer to that for a second, which is you mentioned about how she didn't want to prove him because she was upset with him. One of the things that we men find very challenging is that a woman's emotional state never stays the same. So it's a challenge for us because we want stability. We like consistency. We like it to be the same. So when a woman changes, we start getting upset for no reason because it doesn't need to make a difference. But we feel caught up in that because we want that sort of that consistency. I was going to say complacency, that consistency.
Yeah.
Interesting word. Yeah. And that's the thing is, so to know that's what's happening and not taking it personally for men is a big win for us, basically, because we can say, you know what, she's changing. That's the way she is. And it's not our job to fix anything. But we know, again, like I said earlier, about when women want to know they're loved, is when a man tells her she's loved, it can help her recenter back to where he wants her to be, frankly. It's almost a selfish act to do that, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
The same as a woman telling a man that, that she compliments him and approves of what he did or that's things she does. It's like his chest puffs out. He gets more happy with being with her. So these subtle and yes, sometimes blatant skills can really bring us back to ourselves, which makes our one, it brings our hormonal balance, us back into balance, but also creates the connection and makes it stronger again. So it's good to remember not necessarily to buy into what the other person's doing, but to remember your homework, to remember what you know how to do so you can bring the partnership closer together.
I love that. John Gray talked about mood changing like a wave. Just think about the ocean. It comes in and it goes back out, and it comes in and goes back out. And your hope is not any of them are tsunamis. Generally, they just go in and out and just go, oh, she's doing the wave. She's doing the wave. That really is a very helpful explanation for what it feels like in our body.
Yeah.
Because in our lives, in our world, one thing, or a few things in a row can change us on a dime. It feels like that to you. I mean, you are much more steady Eddie people. You know, if something happens, you internalize it, you go off and do something about it. Maybe we'll hear about it later. We're like, oh, I'm so sad, and oh, I'm so happy, and oh, I'm so frustrated, and oh, I'm so sad. And that could all happen in like 15 minutes. It just could, because it's who we are. And as long as you don't take responsibility, because that is so important. I mean, when there is your responsibility, then you need to. And most of the time, it really will have this much to do with you.
Right.
Because we just are emotional creatures. We lead with our feelings. So, boy, just standing out to the side going, oh, really? Oh, is there anything I could do? Do you need to vent? Maybe you might need advice.
Yeah.
Really helpful, because then our testosterone level stays just fine. All that emoting is keeping our estrogen level just fine. Yeah. And then if you go, oh, it's not my fault, your testosterone level will stay just fine.
Absolutely. We're not feeling so, we don't feel attacked. We don't feel like we need to defend ourselves. It gets easier to beat ourselves. Yeah, absolutely.
I really hope this is helpful for the people who have never thought about it this way, and the ways that you can do stuff for yourself, the way that you can involve your partner by asking them to do things for you or by doing things for them that could keep generally people on a more even keel more of the time.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Absolutely.
This has been such a fun conversation. Oh my gosh, I knew it was going to be, but it was more fun than I even expected.
Mm-hmm.
So if you'd like to have a fun conversation with Barry or I,
nice segue.
thank you, about testosterone or estrogen or sex.
or anything else about relationships.
Yeah, we're here.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a good noise. The best way to get a hold of me is through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. And you can click on a link that says what's holding you back from love and schedule a 1-hour complimentary conversation with me. And like the woman the other day, and tell me all the stuff that you're mad at. And maybe you'll get a text back that'll make you feel better after talking to me. You can also join my mailing list and get repeats of this podcast, and I also anything else I'm sending out. I've got a couple of other things in the works right now. And then if you scroll to the bottom of my homepage, you'll see all the links to all my social media of Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and YouTube and Twitter, X, right? And Threads. I'm now in Threads, and Instagram. Haha, I remember that.
Got them all. Nicely done.
Thank you, Barry. I have to live up to you being able so clearly to do that.
I'm wandering around them at my own pace.
And Barry, tell people how to reach you.
Certainly. So like Christine, I have a website. In other words, you can reach me. So my website is barryselby.com. Easy to remember. On the homepage, I have two options as well. One option at the top of the screen is a link to get a conversation with me. So you can click on that link and get my calendar. So you can book a complimentary conversation. We can talk about where you are and where you're looking to go, if I can help you and what we want to do together. At the bottom of the homepage is an opt-in to my email list, which I recommend you do because, one, I do send out the replays of the shows. And like Christine, I have stuff brewing and going on. And you want to stay up to date with what's happening. You definitely want to be part of that loop. So you can definitely join my email list and get notifications every week from me. My social media is all my name, except for Instagram, which the Instagram and Threads is the real Barry Selby, but everywhere else, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, I think it's all of them, is Barry Selby. So you can find me there. And I know there's a link that I'm just going to pop up, which we'll put up in a second. I have a quiz that I've been running for a while now, which I recommend you want to go to, which is barryselby.com/quiz. That is my relationship readiness assessment, which I've been happily running and successfully running for about 4 months now. And people are taking it, loving it. This is for men and women. It really gives you a sense of where you are and where you want to go, and maybe what's in the way. And frankly, if you're going to have a conversation with me, I recommend you do the quiz first to get you started.
Great. And we would love you to go to all of our YouTube and social media channels and subscribe and like and share them with your friends and family who are having relationship and dating challenges.
Absolutely.
And we're always here every week from at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between.
And also a reminder, because I think we just notified recently that almost all of our online streaming shows have been put up on our podcast platforms too. So if you listen to an Apple Podcast or Spotify, everywhere else, our podcast catalog is getting pretty full. I mean, so we've done 150 something shows now.
Yeah.
Yes, we're busy the last 3 years. And our podcast list, show list is getting about as full. So we're getting all our shows up there. So if you haven't listened to us on when you're going around town, working out, driving, whatever you're doing, you can listen to us and take us with you. So definitely recommend you subscribe to our podcast platform.
And we'd love to go with you wherever you go.
Indeed.
And we'll be back next week with another really fascinating show about dating and relationships.
Oh, we will. So stay tuned. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.